Subhanallah. Allah. Ya Allah. Allah. Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the world of Islam, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States of America. From Denmark to China, from Australia to Argentina, from the USA to the UK, there are more than 1.5 billion Muslims in the world today. The religion of Islam is the fastest growing religion on earth, but unfortunately, the true nature of Islam is often misrepresented and misunderstood. So I invite you to join us as we travel throughout the world of Islam and give you the opportunity to know the truth about Islam and the truth about Muslims. You are now entering the world of Islam. And I'm here in the Atlanta Masjid of Al-Islam with the Imam of this Masjid, Imam Imams and Islamic. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
And thank you for joining us and contributing to this documentary about Islam in America.
It's my pleasure.
But as we begin, Imam, I just want to ask you a bit about yourself and how you came to Islam.
Well, I'm a native Atlantan and grew up during the civil rights days. I was a little young to be involved directly in the civil rights. In fact, the year I graduated from Booker T. Washington High School, Dr. King was assassinated. And from there, I went to Harvard University during the student protest years and became very much politicized. And I also studied many religions, including Islam. But I got involved in Pan-African movements and various student movements. When I came back after graduating, I wanted to...
If I could, what did you study there at Harvard University?
I studied African studies and sociology, which is then was called social relations. When I came back, many of my friends and relationships who did not go to college were coming back from Vietnam. Many were coming back handicapped, severely injured, or addicted to drugs. So I wanted to try to change the circumstances of my neighborhood and my community. And in my studies, I had only seen one effort that was making a difference in the lives, in particular, of African Americans, and that was the Nation of Islam. In 1974 of September, Elijah Muhammad was really getting weaker and coming close to death, even though I didn't know it. But the change of lifestyle that he had brought into many African Americans' lives was impressive to me. And though I knew it was not Islam as I had studied it.
But Imam, can I ask you just elaborate a bit on what you mean about the change of lifestyle he brought to African Americans?
Well, Elijah Muhammad was a man who was uneducated and was introduced to a pseudo Islamic idea and ideology by a teacher named Farad Muhammad, who came from India at that time. And this pseudo-Islamic idea was a concept that the black man was the chosen people, and that the people who had enslaved us and discriminated against us, they were really representatives of the devil. For over 30 something years, he taught that, and when Malcolm X got involved, began to sort of look at it from a more of a political perspective as well. But the main emphasis of the Nation of Islam was do for self, that African Americans should do for self, that God had really chosen us to make a difference in our own lives and not allow ourselves to be oppressed or directed by other people.
So your initial attractment, what attracted you to them was the fact that they were having a positive effect in the community and on the lives of black people.
Yeah, they were getting men and women off of drugs, off of the streets, getting black men and women involved in businesses and doing things collectively. So that's really what attracted me. But even though I had this urge for a real universal message, the immediate surroundings and immediate calamity in the lives of African Americans called me first. And so I joined the Nation of Islam, and then within about 4 months, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad passed, and his son Wallace Muhammad, or Warathuddin Muhammad, became the leader and immediately transformed the 200,000 member Nation of Islam into a universal, global Islamic thinking community that based its life on the Quran and the life experiences and example of Prophet Muhammad, prayers and peace be upon him.
But let me just try to expound a bit. You said he immediately transformed the life of
200,000
people
throughout America,
from being Nation of Islam to being the proper religion of Islam.
Yeah.
So how did that take place? Was that like
it took a period of maybe 3 years for it to really take grip. But what he did is he used the symbolisms that Elijah Muhammad and his teacher Farad Muhammad had given, and he connected those symbolisms and those mythologies to real Quranic concepts. So from going from the idea of that the black man was some kind of God and the white man was a devil, he went to the man was mind, that we are what we think. Going from where you are what you eat is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught. Imam Warathuddin Muhammad taught, you are what you think. And what color are your thoughts? Your thoughts are not Caucasian, your thoughts are not African, your thoughts are bodies of knowledge.
Right.
And it's the body of knowledge that colors your actions and your activities. So that it was not that the white man was the devil, but it was that white supremacy was an ideology and a thinking that was devilish. And it was not that the black man was God, but that innocence and faith brings us to God. The blackness of innocence, the blackness of faith brings us to God. And so he began to transform these myths and symbols and connect them to the revelation of Quran and to the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we began to understand that really this was a natural transition.
Were there some people who resisted making the transition?
Well, it's some people that didn't understand the transition, and so they sort of dragged along. But for the first 3 years, basically everybody tried to make the transition. This started in 1975, and then in 1978, Minister Louis Farrakhan was invited by some people who were disenchanted to come back and restart the Nation of Islam. Imam Warathuddin Muhammad had the foresight to change the name. Nation of Islam, really, nation is not really the concept that's in Quran, it's community, ummah. So we changed from Nation of Islam to the world community of Islam in the West. But there was also another problem, that the history of Nation of Islam had been very anti-American. And so...
I'm sorry, what do you mean that it had been anti-American?
Well, the Nation of Islam realized that the condition of African Americans were tied to slavery and oppression by white America. And so though this country was great, it was built upon the backs of our foreparents who were slaves. So, and then you also remember that we're coming through periods of segregation, and here Dr. King was called one of the most dangerous people in the country, and he was a man preaching nonviolence. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a very